Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. Today, I'm back after a longer than expected hiatus. I'm still a little sick. That's part of what extended my hiatus, and also Christmas and New Year's and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm a little under the weather. I'll try and avoid sniffling or anything directly into the mic, but you can probably hear my voice is a little worked. So today we're doing something a little simple, a little easy. We're just going to be doing Mr. Sinister. We're going to be doing a little profile shot of Mr. Sinister, much the same way that we did with Spawn. Except we're doing a slightly different profile. This is more of this is pretty much a 3/4 fully. Like the last time what we're doing was, well, no, this is probably more of what I'd say like a 4/5 sort of situation. This is most of the face that we're seeing here in terms of this, and obviously full flat body. Because in the Spawn one there was a body tilt and there was a head tilt. The head was more tilted towards the side. That was more of a 3/4 situation. This is probably closer to 4/5 of the face. So yeah, yeah, I don't see. There was something which I was going to say there. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about a few different things in this one. They'll become more obvious as we're going. But this is obviously a pretty simple one. This is a profile shot. So largely. I'm trying to make this a little easier on myself to get back into the swing of things, because obviously I haven't done one of these in quite a few weeks now. But yeah. Yeah, anyways, I'll begin. So yeah, I'll roll the intro and then I'll talk more again for probably a little while. So yeah. Okay, so this is what we've got for Mr. Sinister so far. So basically what I've done here design-wise is I've kind of merged a couple of bits and pieces. So his big kind of high collar is the same as his kind of classic design. It'll be red. And then his hair is the same from modern design. Sort of. It's not quite as long as you see in some iterations. In some iterations it's very long, some iterations it's not. And I've given him just a goatee as opposed to his full beard that he tends to have now. But yeah. So largely I've kind of taken a few bits and pieces, like he's got the kind of the connecting pieces here of the shoulder pads into this kind of cross across the top of the shoulders kind of piece, which comes into his collar. That's kind of a bit of an older design element, and then a lot of the rest of this is just kind of the modern stuff. The belt is red. It's the flat, straight red belt. That's classic design stuff. But yeah, largely the design-wise, this isn't really too crazy. This is mostly the modern design, because the modern design isn't substantially different apart from the head. But yeah, so the thing which I was going to talk about, the pen got caught in my headphone cable there. But yeah, the thing that I was going to talk about is the fact that this is a thing that happens a lot in comics. In a lot of art, it's just a thing that happens naturally, but in comics especially, you see it sometimes as likenesses where likenesses where an artist has decided that a character is going to look in a very particular way, and it can be somewhat intrusive sometimes. So for example, at the moment, for some reason, they basically across everything, they've just kind of decided that Mr. Sinister looks like Keanu Reeves now. For he's got the same full pointy beard, not just the pointy goatee, it's the full kind of thing of where it's the exact shape of Keanu Reeves' beard, and he got the same hair, but just slicked back. And it's the type of thing which you used to see a lot in the early 2000s. You saw it in the early 2000s where for a very long period of time, Iron Man just looked like Tom Cruise. And the reason for that was because Tom Cruise was rumored to be playing Iron Man. Never happened though. But yeah. And it was the same thing at the time. You got a lot of characters who were drawn to look like their actors from the movies. A lot of times in Wolverine comics, they drawn to look like Hugh Jackman. In the 90s, if I remember correctly, there was a period of time where he was drawn to look like Mel Gibson, depending on the artist. It was an odd one, but yeah. It happens a lot. There's a very funny a panel from a comic somewhat recently where Black Adam looks. It's clearly like an image of not even like I don't even want to say that they've traced an image of The Rock, but they've clearly used a particular face of his as reference because he looks just like The Rock, but he's got hair, so it looks weird. And yeah, this is the thing. I've taken bits of the modern Mr. Sinister here with the long hair, but I've just given him a full goatee as opposed to the full beard. I prefer the goatee. I think it looks more interesting on him. My voice is kind of fighting with me a little bit, so I won't dilly-dally too long. As I say, this is kind of a 4/5 situation here. We've got, if you were to divide the face into 5 sets of 5 parts, you'd be missing 1/5, is how we would say. Because this side of the face isn't as full as this side, so you're getting about 4/5-ish. That's just me eyeballing it, and I haven't actually measured it or anything. But yeah, with the Spawn one, that would have been more like 3/4 of the face. That's how you divide into a profile. That's how you would divide up a face for profiling purposes of this. And again, this is a full body shot. This is a flat full body shot, but a what do you call it? Shot on the face. A 4/5 shot on the face. But yeah, as I say, I don't want to dilly-dally too long. I think I've said everything I needed to say. I kind of really only wanted to talk about the likenesses thing as just a kind of interesting point. It happens a lot if you. It happens a lot in comics, and it's funny sometimes, and sometimes it's very obvious. Whenever it happens, you might notice it more now. I would say that it's hard to not notice it once you've kind of seen an example of it. But I will say that with Mr. Sinister, it's far more subtle than you used to see. Like, for example, with Tom Cruise's arm, I used to see that, like, it was really obvious that he was supposed to look like Tom Cruise. But with Mr. Sinister, it's like he kind of looks like Keanu Reeves. He has the features, but he still looks like Mr. Sinister. So yeah, I also kind of don't know why they decided to make him look like Keanu Reeves. I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird choice. Anyways, was there anything I needed to say? I don't think so. I think I will just start doing the details, and then I'll be back for the colors, I think, after that. Just very quickly have a little think, and I am feeling like I just want to start the details. Okay. So, anyways, I will begin. Okay, I'm back. I took a somewhat substantial break. And, yeah, so... Now that I am done my details, yeah, I wanted to mention that, yeah, in a typical art show fashion, this is not recorded. Well, currently not recorded in the afternoon anymore. It started in the afternoon, but I took, yes, as I say, a substantial break in between. Yeah, it's also winter, so it wouldn't normally be dark at this time, but it is still winter. So, yeah. So color-wise, I mean, I really don't have a huge amount to do with Mr. Sinister on his colors. First things first, the skin is white. So I would actually be a better idea to do the background first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a gradient from red, like a dark red. Not the red that he's going to have. He's going to have a brighter red than that. So I get a dark red and a very dark kind of purpley color. Let me make it a little bluer. And then I'll do that as my gradient. Let's see how this looks. Is that alright? That looks okay. Maybe make this bluier. Maybe make this pinkier. That might look a little better to me. That's maybe a little better. I think it... Oh. I'm an idiot. I've done this on the skin layer, so I can just fix that pretty easily. I'll just do this. Yeah, I'm not gonna do any sort of like actual like detailing on the background or any of that stuff, because I mean it occupies so little space on screen that it's just ultimately pointless to do. So I will, yeah, I won't bother doing any sort of background detailing. This is kind of what I'm going to do with this skin. Of course, going to have slight readiness to it, very slight. But yeah, I'm not going to bother doing any detailing on the background, like any smoke layers or anything like that. I'll just leave it as is, and then the texture will do the smokiness. It'll add the kind of smokiness to it anyways. But yeah, so the colors here shouldn't take very long. They don't really. None of the latter parts of this really take very long normally with a profile shot. So I'll do these colors and I'll be back to do the painting, which should be quick as well. But yeah, anyways. Okay, now it is time to do the painting, which should be reasonably quick. Now, what am I going to do color-wise for the painting? Actually, I just realised I hadn't thought about that. I think I'm just going to do what I've got already. I'll probably roll with a kind of a purpley bluey color for the darks, and then I'll use a kind of a as soon as my brain catches up, I'll use a what do you call it, kind of color, maybe a reddier color, maybe just a kind of a orangey color, something like that for the lights. I don't know, maybe we'll see. This largely probably won't take too long. As far as things go, should be pretty quick, because I don't actually have a huge amount to do here, really. I've only got a handful of colors, and yeah, as I forgot to mention this before we did the colors, but I'm not some sort of coward who's going to remove the lipstick from Mr. Sinister. He's supposed to have it. That's what the cartoon told me. Is that Mr. Sinister wears black lipstick. But yeah, for one reason or another, he does not have it anymore. He is just full white face, no makeup. But yeah, anyways, I will do this painted shading here, and then I'll be back for the detailed shading, which should take like 10 minutes. Anyways. Alright, so that is our painted shading done, so now it's time for the detailed shading. And yeah, as you can probably see, I did a significantly messier painted shading this time, and that's mostly because it really doesn't matter with the painted shading whenever you're doing something this big, like whenever a character takes up this much physical space in the page, because a lot of the time what's going to happen is that it's going to kind of, whenever you're looking at it from a distance like this, you don't really notice the messiness. You don't notice like some of the kind of hairier bits of it here or around there, or any of these edges, which kind of have, as I say, like kind of crappy shading on them. It's kind of, yeah, like too messy. You don't really notice it so much, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so this is the thing. I just kind of allowed it to be a little messier. There's no real point in being too precious about any particular bits of it. But yeah, so I will get my detailed shading ready. So I'll grab dark purple and say like a color like that, maybe, maybe something like that. Maybe want it to be a little yellower, something like that. That might work for our light. It's maybe a little pale, but yeah. Anyways, we'll see how this works, and then. I will throw in the light line in this section, and then I'll be back to do the gradient maps, and then I will wrap up. So yeah. Okay, so that is us done, basically. Now I gotta do the gradient maps. So, let me have a look. Let us see. So, we're going to want to make our darkest color a bluey purpley color, probably verging more on the blue. Put it maybe here, put it about there. Then our brightest color, probably we're going to want to be a reddish color. Then our mid-tone will end up being a pink. About there. Something like that. Probably maybe more leaning on the purple, I would say. Have it be there. So we're going to want this to be dark. We're going to want it to be dark. That should do in terms of actual gradient maps. So what do we look like an overlay? It's nice and bright. Soft light is probably what we're going to want to go for though. Turn it down to 60%. And then duplicate that. And then put this underneath, and then make it luminosity, and then we're going to make it 20%, I think, yeah. And then we're going to want to make another duplicate of that, round up here, make it a color burn, make it 5%. This is not 20%. There we go. These are all correct. Now I'm going to grab my texture. But yeah. So, yeah, that was a reasonably easy one. Not too difficult. Not too long, 2.5 hours, so pretty solid in terms of how long it actually took. Reasonably quick, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to be nice and quick. Because last thing I want is the first one back to be an arduous mess. Because yeah, that is not exactly what I want. After coming back from however long, from several weeks of a break, only to come back and for it to be tremendously difficult. Yeah, 25% should be alright. No, 30% on this. How does that look? How does 30% look? 30% works, I think. I think that looks alright. It's dispersing bits of this. How are we looking on this, on the other screen? What's funny is that the colours here are actually remarkably similar on my screen to how it's displaying on the monitor, except they're just a little darker here. But yeah, the last thing I wanted was for the first one back to be an arduous multi-part, multi-recording ordeal, which I have to then they come back to over a set of days, and then all this stuff, and then have to do a whole host of stuff. So, especially given that I'm getting over a bit of a sickness, so it's handy that this was an easier one, is what I'm saying. But yeah, as it stands, this was reasonably easy. Yeah, I just kind of let it be a little messy, and yeah, I have a list of characters which I want to do an art video on, and Mr. Sinister has been on my list for quite a while, but I was saving him for something, I guess. I wasn't really saving him for anything in particular. It was just not a priority, really. But I said I'd do something a little easier for my first one back, so that's what this one is. But yeah, so that is us, more or less. So something which I want to start doing is, if any of you in the audience have suggestions, I'd be happy to take them. Because I've got a list, but, you know, if it just so happens that something on my list gets suggested a whole bunch, then I'll obviously do it. I'll prioritize it a little bit more. But also I kind of don't anticipate getting that many requests. But I'm happy to take them if I receive them. But that would, of course, entail people watching to the end of the video. So I'll probably put that at the start of the video in future. I'll probably put that at the start of the video in future. But yeah, if you do have any suggestions, I'll take them. I'll see them at least in the comments. But yeah, no guarantees, of course. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'll do the outro and then I'll leave you. So, if you like the video, do whatever it is that you normally do, whether that be liking or not. I would, of course, prefer if you liked it, but I can't make you. So, you know, do it or don't. I'd, of course, prefer if you did. But anyways, if you want to subscribe, it's the same deal. I, again, would, of course, prefer if you subscribed. You know where the button is. I don't need to tell you where it is. You presumably seen a YouTube video before. But, again, same deal. And if you choose to watch the next video, I'll see you next time. So, with all that said, I'll say goodbye, and that'll be us. So, bye-bye.